Hey, what's up? What's happening, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about Spike Lee's new movie starring Denzel Washington, and it is currently streaming on Apple TV. After we discuss the movie, I want to talk about Spike Lee's views on AI for filmmaking because he makes some serious references to it within the movie. Now, I agree with the points that he makes, but what I want to do, and I feel people are missing out on, as well as he is that people are looking at this through just one lens. You know, they're looking at the gorilla, the Bigfoot videos, along with the dog and baby videos. Look, those are okay, those are cool, but they are good for viral videos. But what we're talking about today will go beyond that. And after that, we will end the show on the death of Charlie Kirk and our thoughts on the 24th anniversary of 9/11. So, Howard, let's begin with
Yes, sir.
highest to lowest. And I want to start from the beginning and try to break down the base of the movie and the timeline and just go through it because I want to know what you thought about just from the beginning, from the cinematic opening. And my wife said, interesting choice of music.
Wow. Well, first, let me set the table for what it is. I mean, highest for those who don't know, and it's been you probably if you're watching this, you probably do know already. You know, highest to lowest is a remake or an adaptation of a novel called King's Ransom and a movie by Akira Kurosawa called High and Low, which is a masterpiece police procedural movie, and I would recommend it highly for anyone to see it. It's not my favorite Kurosawa movie, but it is fantastic. It is.
And I
Okay,
found
so
myself watching this movie and kept thinking about that movie.
right,
Yeah. So,
right,
yeah.
yeah. Now, if you want to enjoy, I will say this: I made the mistake of watching High and Low before watching Highest to Lowest. That was a mistake because Highest to Lowest I did not enjoy watching. I couldn't help but keep comparing it to this other movie, which is unfair in certain respects, but don't, it lends itself. It's like you have to do it. It's almost, you can't help but make the comparison, especially if you're going to build your story in the same construction and also name your movie highest to lowest. Okay.
Right.
So, all right. So that's it. And now I'm going to do the little disclaimer, one little caveat, not disclaimer, but I just don't want all the trolls to come after me. I have the highest aspiration for Spike Lee as a filmmaker.
Me too.
And as a Black American and as a producer. I think, he has done, he's on the Mount Rushmore of Black film. Bottom line.
Easily.
I have nothing to say that about that.
Easily.
I think this is his 24th movie, if I'm not mistaken. As a filmmaker, a storyteller, cultural commentator, he has run the gamut and all of those. He's done he's really good at doing that. I think he's best as a documentary filmmaker. But that he's made some classics out there.
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
Also, The Miracle at St. Anna was a movie last movie I saw in the theater with my father, who was part of the 92nd Infantry Division, which that movie portrayed in Italy.
Yeah, I think you mentioned something about that before.
Yeah. Now it was really, interesting for me to watch my father viewing that movie. I mean,
what was his thoughts on it?
He found it entertaining as a movie, but he tore it up as far as its accuracy, and he was kind of disappointed because he kind of felt like, Spike didn't do his homework.
Yeah, and did he feel like it was rushed? It was missing elements and just.
No, it was more like that's just not like it was in Italy during the war for Black troops.
Gotcha.
I mean, there were some tropes and some things that were there and all that, but he just said that didn't capture what his experience was whatsoever in any way.
Okay.
So while he enjoyed the movie for what it was, he just saw it more like He said, "I'll look at this as like a fable or something rather than a war movie because it certainly had nothing to do with what his experiences were over there."
I wonder if it
Okay.
was like the dialogue, the script that, and the way they were talking. I wonder if that had a part to
Well, it
doing
was
that.
that, but it was also
Yeah.
just some specifics. I mean,
Okay.
stuff that you wouldn't know. See, that's why you should get a consultant for these things.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was saying like the guns didn't sound right, and
Mm-hmm.
people didn't. The banter wasn't correct. You're right. I
Yeah.
mean, some of it was out of time. Now, Spike do use a lot of anachronisms in his dialogue, where
Mm-hmm.
people will say something that they would say in the 90s rather than what they would say
In the
in
30s.
1940, 42.
Yeah, 42. Yeah.
but,
Yeah. Yeah.
but anyway, that's what it is. Anyway,
Yeah.
okay. So going into this movie,
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of hesitant because I know I'm throwing a lot of criticism at Spike. I'm right now, but the other adaptations he has done, Old Boy,
Okay.
which was the Josh Brolin, Elizabeth Olsen film, Chan Park Wook movie. It was a South Korean
Mm-hmm.
movie. He made a remake of Ganja and Hess, which is the black vampire movie
Right.
from the black exploitation black vampire movie in the 70s, called The Sweet Blood of Jesus, and Chirac, which is an adaptation of a Greek play,
Gotcha.
Lystrata. All of those I did not like. I thought they were subpar, and I thought they were horrible. I just didn't. I thought those movies were
Yeah,
bad.
you're kind of leading, and look, you're kind of leading up to why you and I have probably the same exact view on this movie, because you
Well,
just said something that was key, Howard.
yeah.
When you look at High to Low first, you look at that movie, and you look at the way the script, the way the character development builds up throughout the movie. It keeps you intrigued. It keeps you engaged. That didn't happen here, and it's like this. When you see the Dial M for Murder, okay, and then you have A Perfect Murder, okay, you got Alfred Hitchcock, then you got my man Michael Douglas. All right, A Perfect Murder was outstanding. It took the elements of Dial M and it incorporated to the time that it was being released, as well as to the fire between the characters, the interaction between the characters. I'm gonna tell you, the way this movie was, and I'm gonna let you go back to it, there was
Mhm.
no really dynamic energy between any of the characters except for one. And that was ASAP Rocky. He's the only one, in my opinion, that
Yeah.
made the movie worth watching. And that's sad. But let's continue, my man.
Yeah. Well, I thought Jeffrey Wright did the best he could with the material he had,
Yes, yes.
but but and I've read reviews and I've heard people say that they really liked the chemistry between Denzel and Jeffrey Wright.
That's
I didn't believe
bullshit.
it.
That's
I didn't
bullshit.
believe it.
Nah.
I didn't get it.
Look, you
I didn't
don't have
believe.
two great actors like that. The talent between those two is incredible. I fell in love with Jeffrey Wright when I saw Basquiat.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this guy. And then in Shaft, him playing Peoples, I'm like,
Mhm.
yo, this cat gets into character. So when he,
Mhm.
pulls up and he's driving the car, I'm like, okay, we're going to get something now. We got Denzel and we got Jeffrey. All right, we're going to get something. That shit never develops at all.
Yeah, yeah. And that was disappointing.
Yeah,
I just thought from the first hour of this movie is brutal. It's brutal. It was brutal for me. I mean, I just felt everything was kind of thinly written.
yeah,
Spike was, doing his Spike thing. I do appreciate that he loves New York.
yeah.
I thought the opening drone shots of Brooklyn
Now that
were
was great.
beautiful.
That was look. The
Were beautiful.
cinematography was outstanding.
Was beautiful.
Yeah,
I guess he was just kind of trying to say that at this point in his life, using the beginning of Oklahoma, oh what a beautiful morning, that it was, maybe he was just saying Denzel is literally on the top of the world at this point in his life, and this is just such a great time to be him. So I get that. I didn't like the choice. It reminded me, and it's just on its own, it probably was a great choice. But
mm-hmm.
if you watched Watchmen, the show, the HBO series Watchmen.
Okay.
That Oklahoma theme was all through. I couldn't get off of Watchmen when I heard
See,
that.
I'm glad you said
but
that. I kept trying to say, why is this messing with me? Because
Yeah,
because of the Watchmen.
because of what? Yeah, they tied that all into
Yeah,
Tulsa and all
yeah,
that stuff. So that was in there. But
yeah.
anyway, I know what he was trying to do, and visually he did it well at the beginning. And from there, I had a hard time. That there was people were hard to connect with. The performances didn't seem to elevate the material. I felt like people were talking at each other rather than having conversations. You know, and the supporting characters were one of the things that I really fell in love with early on with Spike's early movies was that these supporting characters like Sweet Dick Willie and Do the Right Thing,
Yeah.
or all these people were all bits of. As a black person in America, you knew these folks.
Yes, yes,
You were like,
yes.
I know people just like that, and they'd show up and they do their thing. And you say, "Yeah, Spike, I'm with you. You see me, you see us." Blah, blah. These people. Now, granted, I don't, you have a young son. You have a
I'm gonna talk about that because
so I don't.
Yeah.
So but I have nephews and stuff like that.
Right.
We're not rich,
Uh-huh.
so I can't say that. I didn't know. I did not run into either one of these kids.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, look, man. Let me just say this, man. You said it when you talked about Sweet Dick Willie. You know what I mean?
Right.
The characters within the Spike Lee movies, they all had a personality. Like my man, one of his guys shows up from Mo Better Blues in the subway car. Yeah.
John, what's it? Nicholas the Tour.
Yeah, his younger brother, right?
Yeah.
So
right.
The characters are developed, but in the car ride from the house, from the apartment, with his son, you get the Spike Lee classic music in the background. Let's let you know you're going to have one of those learning moments between father and son. You got that ride happening. Let me tell you something. That kid is awful. I don't know who that kid is that was playing his son, but he was awful. He had no personality. Spoke under his, and look, he did something that my wife and a lot of parents my age would get on these kids about. Stop speaking underneath your mouth. Speak clearly. Speak up. Maybe Spike was trying to, emphasize that. But it was horrible. He was in the car, all on his phone, social media, and this is another thing. Spike is like constantly emphasizing and pointing out the negatives about social media and AI and all the new stuff. And maybe that's kind of associated with the guy being a music mogul and all that. But I would have probably got more into that conversation between him and his son if it had a little bit more authenticity, in terms of the dialogue. But the kid playing his son, man, that kid is just awful, man.
Well, that kid was awful. But the other thing, since you brought it up, I was going to bring it up later, but I'll bring it up now.
Yeah.
The score, man, that score needs to go. That needs to get out of there. You're talking about the conversation you had with his son.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same Spike Lee.
Can you turn the piano down, Spike? Can you turn it down? I don't need to hear. I mean, and then he has these things happening that are like, what am I watching? Is this? I just didn't understand. Is this the score is so dramatic? It's like, the police have just pulled up. What is this? Dun dun dun.
Yeah. Oh, that was from when all the cops pulled up. That was from like the Inside Man. It was like he was mixing elements of all his movies into one.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So anyway, I was taken out of this movie, and I really wanted to. I was excited to go see this movie. I didn't go see it in the theater. I waited because
and you're glad you didn't. And you're glad.
And I'm waiting. Yeah, I'm glad I did too, because I had to watch this movie in 3 sittings. I couldn't watch the whole thing all the way through. I had to just take a break because it was just like it was just
it was awful. You couldn't believe it. Look, we're just talking about the first 20 minutes of the movie. And the first 20 minutes of the movie, you're thinking that you have some type of understanding of the vibe. But you really don't have an understanding of the vibe. He starts off, greeting his wife in the morning. That's somewhat conversation. You kind of get the feeling that he's having an issue with money, but then you realize when he gets to the office, it's not an issue with money, it's that he's trying to buy back the company, all this stuff. But between his wife, his son, between, Paul, his driver, you don't get a feel of what is going on and how people are played into the movie. And once again, if you watch the original and you see this, you're like, okay, I should have an understanding of the intensity here on what's happening, but it's never established. And what the fuck was up with Rick Fox, man? Letting the kids come into practice late. Yo.
See, that's all they see. Look, there's this in this book of essays, and I read this like 30 years ago.
Right.
So if I'm misremembering it, I'm going to apologize already. But Alice Walker wrote an essay about Malcolm X, about the movie Malcolm X, which she did not like. It's in a book of essays by Alice Walker. I don't remember the name of the book.
Right.
But anyway,
we'll find it.
I'm sure it's easily found. You can probably Google it and find it right now. Yeah. But what I remember of that essay is she was put off because, number one, she said she knew Malcolm and she just didn't feel as though the movie represented him. But that's it's not either here nor there. But she said she was pissed off because Spike couldn't help but inject himself in that movie so much. Like the character of Shorty was like made up, and she was like, and why am I watching Shorty so much? I don't need to see Shorty in the beginning. But the other thing, so I'm using that example to say with this thing, I couldn't get into the movie also because Spike has to keep reminding us about all the different other movies he's made and the different people he's with. So I'm gonna stick Rick Fox right in here. Remember he got game? Yeah, Rick Fox. And then and then he's got all this. And I'm just like, Spike, stop it. Stop. And it's like, or it's like, okay, we understand that that Denzel is a very exceptionally rich, successful black man with black sensibilities. Okay. So we don't need to have you focus in on his expensive artwork every scene for like 3, 4, 5 minutes. Like, I don't know. It's just, to me, it just became too much. It's like, what are we doing here, Spike? Where's the story? I don't, I get it. I get that he has these, and I know that's part of his style.
Yeah.
I do. I know it's part of his style. But see, it seems like he's gotten caught up so much in, I got to do this scene to make it a Spike Lee joint rather than tell this story.
Yeah.
I got to have the tracking shot with the guy on the rails, like, how he always has somebody who's like on the rail.
Oh, you're talking about the shot where the lieutenant was going over the plan.
Yeah, he always has one of those shots.
Yeah, he's always got that. Yeah, that was one of them. Yeah.
So it's like, just stop. So anyway.
But when you're talking about like all the, the pictures, the best part that describes what you're talking about, Howard, is when he's in the office and they're showing all these pictures on the wall, and they're pictures from him from other movies, but they're disguised as something else. Like the Time magazine cover. That was Bleak Gilliam. He's mixing all this stuff in. But you're doing this and you're really not getting the understanding of the other characters and what they're feeling.
Well, I agree with you.
Do you think it would have been better without Denzel? You think another actor could have made this better?
No. I think Denzel did the best he could, but I think the script is not good. I don't like the script. I don't know what am I supposed to think about the Denzel character, who's our main character?
Right.
Am I supposed to like him or dislike him?
Right.
Because I don't like him.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't like him.
Right. Yeah.
I'm happy, that it worked out in the end, but I don't even believe this dude has the best ears in the business. Like at the end when he's like listening to old girls sing. Yeah, I'm like, come on with that.
Look, let me tell you what was funny about that scene. I told the wife, I said, okay, they're sitting here talking, all three of them. They really don't even talk about the situation with the money and all that other stuff that happened, But it's in there, she's talking. He said, you ready? You ready to go? And she gets ready to start and all that. She's playing. And she talks about a piano player. By the time the song starts, and by the time it ends, you go from just a piano to a full orchestra in the background. Now I know
Right.
it's for dramatic
With backup
build.
singers and
Yeah,
everything.
I know it's for dramatic build up and all that.
Yeah.
But once again, you're right.
Yeah.
The best is in the business.
Yeah.
You don't need to listen to the whole damn song. All you need to do
Yeah.
is listen to it, sing the first verse and the chorus, and boom, you're done. It's like, okay, what is all this build up? What did we learn, from this? What was it that was captivating? Because I want to go back a little bit because that ending was wild. But I mean, I need to go back to the rolling up in Canada.
From the. It was. I mean, I was glad they got out of that condo.
Yeah.
But the movie was wild from the time they went to make the money drop.
Yeah.
To the end. It was. I was like.
But you know what, man? Like I said, when Jeffrey Wright got in the car, first of all, he takes his son to the camp, shows up late, and he takes him with the SUV. Then his man Paul, he goes get the car, he gets the Bentley now, and he takes him to work in that. I'm trying to understand what was the purpose in that. But you think that every time a scene comes up, it would build up to what is going on. And the only thing I saw with Rick Fox when they came back, it was talking about the kids being missing. They got Rick Fox sitting all low and the cops all high. I'm like, is this supposed to be some type of symbolism? Is it supposed to be that, the black guy is still, even though he's well accomplished, he's still below the white guys, especially these cops. I'm like, that's a Spike Lee move,
This is to go on that tone. Yeah. This is what threw me for a loop, and this is why I would recommend that for people don't watch High to Low. Watch High and Low because it's a great movie. But if you don't watch it to prepare to watch this movie, you're going to really ruin your experience because I don't have any great warm feelings about the police. And I know the Spike doesn't either.
Yeah.
And so I figured that's why he made these particular police in his movie just totally incompetent. Just totally so incompetent that he even freaking cast freaking Mayhem to be one of the police.
Look, that was funny. I said, D's, look who they got up in here.
Who to me, he was in a totally different movie. But I don't know what movie he was in.
He was in the first John Wick. You remember?
No. Oh. I know. He was in Oz. That's my boy from Oz.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
That's my. I'm not. I like the actor.
Yeah.
I know I'm talking bad about him. I like the actor. What I'm saying is, I don't know. Well, you watch some movies and you got one person, and I'm like, I don't know what movie that dude is in, but he's not in the same movie the rest of these folks are in. I don't know what movie. That dude was in.
His acting and when he chased down the dude. I'm like, dude, what is going on with you? He's out of breath. He's falling down. You remember the movie Ransom? You remember Ransom, right? It's like it's like Spike tried to take the portion with the cops coming to see him from Ransom. You got the brother being Delroy Lindo's character. They probably didn't get Delroy Lindo for that character because that would have been too obvious. But it was like a stretch. It's like he was reaching for ideas. And like you said, Mayhem was in a totally different movie.
Yeah. I didn't understand that. And to go back to High and Low, this is what really confused me. The detectives in High and Low are highly competent. These dudes are great detectives. They're even like, they're like questioning the people, and they're like, did you see any light? What time of day was it? Blah blah blah. They're asking all these questions. These guys are just look. Denzel.
They weren't intuitive. They weren't
intuitive. And these guys, even the Denzel character, King. Even though this is ridiculous too, he's listening to his tape the son made, and he hears the song, and so he goes, I thought was ridiculous, and then he goes and shows the cops, and the cops are like, "Get out of here!"
Look, that right there was wild. First of all, he's sitting there listening to it. Now, look, this is the part the cops are incompetent. Because weren't they in the room when he was talking to the guy? When King is like, recognize the voice. He was on the phone. They just totally dismissed it. I'm like, what is your job? What leads? You want new leads? He just came with you with the best lead.
So I appreciate Spike making the cops incompetent because that's probably how he feels about it. And I get that. But it was just a stark contrast to the cops in the original movie.
Yeah.
The cops in the original movie were good. Anyway, all I want to say, this my bottom line is that because I was disappointed in the movie. Spike is a skilled filmmaker, and I feel as though he kind of phoned this one in. That's how I feel about it. He probably worked very hard on it. But my bottom line with Spike is this right here. Spike was never, he grew up in middle class, but his parents were both college educated and all this stuff. He's been around the arts. So he certainly didn't have a hard scrabble upbringing. Right. I get that. But right now, in the last 20 years, he is solidly in the black bourgeoisie. And I don't think that Spike has any connection to the street anymore or to normal people. And I just think that a movie like this reflects that. I just think I don't know.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. I was just,
that's a very good point. It's like, Eddie Murphy comedy. You're not in the mix anymore on certain things. You're just not going to come off that way.
I don't think, and it's not, good. He's enjoying the fruits of his labor. It's not a criticism. I'm just saying, I don't think he has a Mars Blackman character in him anymore. I don't think he's in touch with with what's out there now enough to create a character that we can look at in the audience and say, I know that dude, or I've seen someone like that, or I see what you're doing, Spike. I don't know who these people were.
Yeah.
The actress who played Denzel's wife, who very attractive, that's great.
Tall.
But what Spike used to be good at doing, and I don't want to criticize. She didn't do anything for me as far as her acting is concerned.
Nor in terms of her input into the storyline of the movie.
Or anything. So that might not be her fault. Yeah. But when I look at and Spike has always been good for getting very attractive women in his movies and stuff like that. But when I see the Cinda Williams and the Lynette McKees and the Halle Berrys and stuff, the people that he's had in his movies who really have done something in these movies, I was just like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
This dude could have been single as far as I was concerned. He could have been divorced.
Right.
Yeah, she didn't need to be there.
Yeah. It was like usually have for those characters, it's like a springboard to other things. And with her character, like you said, it's not her fault. It's the script's fault. And basically, like I said, throughout the movie, I kept, trying to figure out the connection, thought the son, was going to be kidnapped. I thought he was going to be part of the whole thing with the record deal and, all of that. And then, you see the exchange of the money and how that went down, the coordination that was involved with that, with all those people that were involved in the getting of the money. I'm like, did they do it for free? Because at the end, the money was underneath the bed. It was all there.
Yeah. So none of those guys.
So none of those guys got paid. They did all that shit for the fun of it. And like I said, A$AP Rocky, the dialogue and the interaction between him and Denzel's character, that was probably the best stuff in the movie because it was it like I said, it was the only thing that kept me interested. And I thought until what part?
It was cool until he tried to shoot him. I was like, what happened? What?
Well, that's the Mad Son. That's the Menendez brothers type of eyesight. You don't give me what I want, that I find, we're gonna kill you.
I guess it just was like you're absolutely. It just I just don't think it was well thought out. And like I said, I know Spike can do better because he has. So I'm sorry. I encourage people to go see the movie. I'd like people to support the movie.
Yeah.
I'd like Spike to make more movies. And if you're a Spike Lee fan, I think it's worth seeing just so you can see if we are right or not.
Yeah.
What you think.
Yeah.
Because I think his movies are worth criticism. I mean, as far as watching, just to watch, but this one was hard for me to watch, man. This was a task.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a work.
Look, all Spike Lee joints ain't good joints. Based on what he's talking about, all good, he said all money ain't good money. All Spike Lee joints ain't good joints. So, that is what it is, and I can totally agree with you on that.